em ghi thêm cái đấy cho anh này. Còn với những cái sản phẩm khác thì cái giá thì nó sẽ cố định, thì mỗi dùng là nó
Hai vậy xếp.
là người bạn của anh thôi. Đấy, thì cái chỗ này nếu mà em mua là ngô này, khoai ngô này thì giá nó sẽ cố định.
The morning sun peeked over the rugged hills, bathing the construction site in a warm golden light as James stood amidst the clamor of workers hammering and drilling. His boots crunched against the gravel, but his thoughts were miles away, replaying the haunting scene from the previous night. Through Diep's window, he'd seen her gently tending to Tung's bruises, her fingers brushing his skin with a tenderness that stung his heart. Jealousy coiled tightly within him, a bitter taste he couldn't shake. He rubbed his temples, forcing his attention back to the site, the skeletal frame of a new building rising against the sky. Meanwhile, back at her farm, Diep stirred awake, the cool morning breeze rustling the curtains. She stretched, her muscles aching from yesterday's chores, and shuffled to the kitchen. The faint glow of dawn illuminated the cold rice she scooped into a pan, cracking eggs over it with a sizzle that broke the silence. As the aroma filled the air, she ate quickly, then stepped outside to tend to her animals. Hockey, her loyal dog, bounded toward her, soaked from a playful dip in a puddle. "Hockey, you're drenched again. Come here and eat something," she chided with a laugh, tossing him a scrap as her chickens clucked eagerly for their share. As she scattered feed for the ducks, a group of men approached the construction site, their footsteps deliberate. A sturdy figure stepped forward, his weathered face breaking into a cautious smile. "Good morning, James. I'm Duke, speaking for the local farmers. Lynn mentioned you. She said you'd be our point man. I just joined the company, so I'm still finding my footing." James nodded, the relentless noise of the drills grating on his nerves. "It's too loud here. Let's step over there to talk." They moved to a quieter corner near a stack of lumber, where Duke's expression turned serious, his voice lowering. "I'll be up front. When we started this project, we had a compensation plan for the farmers' land. This canal state approved, and our firm's in charge of the build. We offered a payout once, but it didn't feel right to them. We need to rework it, make it fair." James leaned against a beam, his mind still half on Diep. "This canal will bring benefits, better irrigation, maybe more crops, but it'll take some land too. We're proposing 2 million VND per household. What do you think?" Duke rubbed his chin, his eyes narrowing as he considered the offer. "It's a start, but the land loss isn't equal. Some families have sprawling fields, others just a sliver. A flat rate won't hold up, they'll feel cheated. You mean some lose more than others, right?" James nodded, impressed by Duke's sharp observation. "You're right. Can you list the households and estimate their land loss? I'll go through it myself and draft a better plan, something tailored." Duke's face brightened with relief. "Thank you, James. I'll put together a detailed list, those hit hardest and those with minor losses, and send it your way. You'll take it from there." James agreed, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Yes, send it over. I'll review and adjust. Thanks for standing up for them. Our aim is their good, but we can't take their land without fair pay. I'll head out now. The site's under control." As Duke nodded and turned to leave, James called out to Hockey, who was now chasing a butterfly near a muddy ditch. "Get in here, you rascal. You're supposed to guard the house, not play in the mud. Come eat your breakfast." Hockey trotted over, tail wagging as James scratched behind his ears, the small moment a brief respite from his troubled thoughts. Back at the site, two men in plain clothes approached, their presence too bold for comfort. One, a wiry figure with a stern gaze, stepped closer. "Morning, James. We need a word about John's case. You're handling it now, yes?" James tensed, his eyes scanning the area. "Why not call? You're too obvious here." The man shrugged, unfazed. "They think I'm just checking houses. But yeah, you're on John's trail. Boss handed it to you." James lowered his voice, the weight of the secret pressing down. "I've got no hard evidence yet, but I've gained John's trust. He's plotting something big. He's got a rap sheet a mile long. They bailed him out with fancy lawyers last time. If we don't move, he'll strike again hard." The second man handed him a thick file, his tone urgent. "Here's what we've dug up, watch your step." "He's a loose cannon." James flipped through the pages, his jaw tightening. "No more visits. Contact me by phone, keep it under wraps. Don't let him sniff out your undercover cops." The men nodded, slipping away into the crowd as James tucked the file into his jacket. Nearby, a farmer approached, his grin wide. "Your crops are cleared, full paperwork, no violations. Swing by in 3 days for the export docs." James managed a smile. "Tung's produce is impressive. Those grapefruits could hit the global market. Good work." The morning stretched on, the hum of machinery blending with the whispers of danger and doubt swirling in James's mind. Script: friendship and love. Will Diep and James rise to the challenge or succumb? Date and time: 7:08 a.m. +07, Sunday, June 1, 2025. Segment 2. Tangled ties and new responsibilities. 20 minutes, 200 lines. Later that humid afternoon, James lingered by his car, the engine still ticking from his drive back from the construction site. His thoughts drifted to Diep, her image flickering in his mind. Should he visit her, confront the jealousy gnawing at him since last night? Before he could decide, his phone buzzed, his mother's voice cutting through the static with urgency. "James, I'm off on a sudden trip. Can you pick up my new secretary? She's waiting at home. Please give her a hand today. She's new and needs guidance." He sighed, adjusting his plans with a reluctant nod. "Sure, Mom. I'm on my way back now," she added, her tone softening. "She's eager to start. Show her the ropes, okay?" "Got it. Take care," he replied, sliding into the driver's seat, the weight of his unresolved emotions settling deeper. At the house, a young woman paced the porch, her expression a mix of nerves and impatience, her shoes tapping against the wooden boards. As James pulled up, gravel crunching under his tires, she waved eagerly, her relief palpable. "Finally, James. Your mom said I'd start today, but she's already gone on her trip. I've been waiting forever. Thought you'd never show." He stepped out, offering an apologetic smile, his hands shoved into his pockets. "Sorry about that. Mom's swamped with work, and I was tied up at the site dealing with a canal project." "Was it a long wait?" She shook her head, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Not too bad, just a bit. Sudden trips happen, I suppose. I'm used to it." James nodded, relieved by her patience. "Thanks for understanding. What's Mom had you look at so far?" She brightened, pulling out a worn notebook from her bag. "I've skimmed the paint files and picked up some basics, colors, stock levels, a bit of inventory jargon." He gestured toward the house, inviting her inside. "As a secretary, you'll dive into the deep end of paperwork, crops, timber, paint. Track monthly revenue, profits, and staff details. I need you to report on who's who, how long they've been around, and any issues they're facing. She jotted notes, her pen scratching against the paper, her focus sharp. Understood. I'll get on that. James continued, pointing toward the distant hills where his sights lay. Each location has a manager. Tien runs the timber yard. He's a natural with the crew, keeps them in line, but he's hopeless with paperwork. You'll bridge that gap and keep things organized. She nodded confidently, her voice steady. I've worked a few companies, so I know the drill. Handled ledgers and schedules before. Don't worry about me. Grateful for her assurance, James grinned faintly. That's a relief. It's not overly complex, but it's a lot to juggle. He glanced at the darkening sky. Rain clouds rolling in with a low rumble. I've given the workers a break. Wet weather stalling the timber drying. Too damp to process anything properly. The secretary flipped to a new page in her notebook, her brow furrowing with concentration. I'll tally the timber stock, output and staff long-timers, sick leaves, absences. Anything else I should prioritize? James pointed down a muddy path visible through the window. There's another yard past the market turn. Take the left fork. Manage 3 sites for me. Your reports need clear dates, input quantities, supplier names, prices, stock levels, and worker IDs. Full names and IDs, no shortcuts. He paused, thinking through the details. Ask Tien about their years served. We offer solid perks for veterans, like bonuses and leave. Note sick days too. With this rain, I've halted work. Record those off days carefully to avoid payroll mix-ups. She nodded, her pen flying. I'll sync the leave dates and keep it precise. No errors. They drove to the timber yard. The air growing heavy with the scent of wet wood as rain began to patter against the windshield. Stacks of planks glistened under the drizzle, and James pointed to a weathered ledger on a nearby table. Tien's logs are detailed. Check them for accuracy. The secretary agreed, flipping through the pages. I'll request his data and tally the backlog. Lots of unsold planks piling up due to this weather. Should I note the dampness impact too? James sighed, surveying the packed shed. Water pooling at the edges. This place is overflowing with stock. That's it for now. Let's move to the produce yard and see what's brewing there. The air shifted to a tangy citrus scent as they arrived. Crates of ginger, bananas, and jackfruit lining the walls. Workers sorting through sacks with practiced ease. This is trickier, more staff, so focus on key crops like grapefruit and oranges. I'll show you around properly, James explained, his voice carrying over the hum of activity. He noted the main warehouse was a distant speck on the horizon, but promised a future visit. For now, oversee the managers here. They've been sloppy without someone like you to tighten things up. Check their records and push for accountability. Inside, the hum of voices greeted them, workers pausing to nod as they passed. This season's heavy on ginger. Unlike timber, crops vary. Ginger now, corn or cassava later depending on the harvest. Note details. Ginger's mostly from locals, no big suppliers to rely on. Weigh by sacks, 50 or 70 kilos each. Multiply to get totals and double-check the scales, he instructed, gesturing to a stack of burlap bags. The secretary nodded, her eyes scanning the piles as they passed resting workers, some napping under a tarp. There's a manager, but they're likely on lunch break now. That's the gist. Report monthly with a breakdown. She smiled, tucking her notebook away. It's late. Care for a drink to wrap up and discuss further? James hesitated, glancing at his watch, the rain now a steady drumbeat. I've got plans, let's make it next time. I need to sort some things out. she pressed gently. Just a quick one. I've got a few work questions still swirling in my head. A break could help. He relented with a tired smile. All right, let's go. But keep it short. As they left, the rain intensified, the drops a relentless tattoo on the roof. Mirroring the storm of emotions James couldn't escape as thoughts of Diep lingered in the back of his mind. In the late morning, Diep stepped into her lush garden, the sun warming her shoulders as she tilted her head to eye 3 ripe jackfruits hanging heavy on the tree. Their spiky skins gleamed with promise, the fruit swollen with sweet golden flesh within. With a practiced hand, she reached up with a ladder, plucking them one by one, the weight tugging at her arms as she carried them to the porch. There she sliced them open with a sharp knife, the rich, tropical aroma wafting into the air, drawing a smile to her lips. She cut the fruit into thick, juicy segments, arranging them carefully into sturdy boxes, her mind set on the market to sell them for a good price to support her farm. Meanwhile, across the village, Tung met John in a secluded grove, the rustle of leaves masking their tense exchange. The air was thick with humidity as John leaned against a tree, his voice a low growl. We need to refine the plan to kidnap Diep. Make it seamless this time. Tung nodded, unease flickering in his eyes as he shifted his weight. Let's make it clean and quick, no mistakes. After hashing out details, timing, routes, distractions, and a fallback plan, Tung returned, his steps heavy with guilt, only to find Diep sitting at James's gate, her phone pressed to her ear, the screen glowing faintly. Why isn't he answering? She muttered, dialing again with a trembling finger. No response. Frustrated and weary, she accepted Tung's offer for a ride home, the engine humming as they pulled away, the road slick with morning dew. At a roadside stall nestled among the trees, James sipped tea with his secretary, the warm cup a contrast to the cool rain tapping against the window. They reviewed ginger tallies, her notebook spread across the table, when his gaze drifted outside. Through the rain-streaked glass, he spotted Diep on Tung's bike, her figure blurred by the drizzle, her hair whipping in the wind. His grip tightened on the cup, the ceramic creaking under his fingers, jealousy flaring like a wildfire that threatened to consume him. Back at the bustling market, Diep's voice rang out over the chatter of vendors and buyers. Fresh jackfruit here. Try some, straight from my garden. A woman approached, her basket swinging, inspecting a box with a curious eye. How much? Diep smiled warmly, her voice bright. Sweet and ripe. Taste it first, see for yourself. The woman nodded approval after a bite, handing over a handful of bills as another buyer, Twee, chimed in with a laugh. Got 3 boxes left? Support me, will you? Diep grinned, wiping her brow. Deal 50,000 VND each. They're the best you'll find today. Meanwhile, in a shadowed room far from the market's cheer, John and his accomplice plotted with a chilling intensity, the air thick with conspiracy. A single lantern cast flickering shadows as John leaned forward, his smirk playing on his lips. The plan's working, James is drifting from Diep, thanks to that little scene we staged. His partner, a lean figure with a calculating gaze, leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. Let's skip the kidnapping. No harm to her. We'll handle it differently, more subtle. John frowned, slamming a fist on the rickety table, the sound echoing off the walls. How's that work? We need leverage to force James's hand and get that company. The accomplice raised a hand, calming him with a sly grin. Trust me, we'll treat her well. She's almost yours anyway. Separate them, threaten James to sign over his company, and you swoop in as her hero. She'll fall for you and James will be left with nothing, broken and begging on the streets. John hesitated, his voice softening as memories of old friendships surfaced. What about James? He's my friend. I don't want him hurt, not like that. The accomplice waved it off with a dismissive chuckle. I just want the company. I'll let him live, humiliated with empty hands, a shadow of what he was. John nodded slowly, his resolve hardening. Fine. Keep it discreet. Police are tailing me, sniffing around like hounds. No more meetings, got it? His partner chuckled, pulling out a stack of old photos from a worn envelope. You sly fox. Almost caught you with these nostalgic snaps. John snatched them back, his face flushing. Just personal memories, nothing more. As they parted ways, the tension lingering deep lingered at James's gate, hope fading with each unanswered call. Maybe he's busy with work, she whispered to herself, her breath visible in the cool air, turning to leave with a heavy heart. Tung drove her home, the silence between them thick with unspoken words. Saw James with that girl upset? He asked gently, his voice careful. Diep sighed, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery. Maybe she's just his secretary. He's been unreachable lately. I'm worried, that's all. Tung offered with a tentative smile. Stay for dinner? I could use the company. She declined, her voice soft. Thanks, Tung, but I'll wait for his call. I need to hear from him. At the office, the secretary approached James, her brow furrowed with concentration, a stack of papers in hand. This ginger tally's unclear. Can you explain the discrepancies? He nodded, leaning over the table, his finger tracing the numbers. Note the price too. Ginger fluctuates hourly due to exports. Other crops have fixed rates, but Buidazan fetches a premium. Track the shifts daily. Diep peeked in, holding a jackfruit box, her expression a mix of hope and hesitation. James working? Can you pass this to him? Ask him to call me. I've been trying all day. The secretary took the box with a nod. Sure, I'll tell him. Anything else? Just that, Diep said, turning to leave. As she stepped out with Tung, James emerged from the back room, his voice tight. Diep was here. The secretary nodded, setting the box down. Just drop that off and ask for a call. His mind raced, the sight of Diep with Tung replaying like a broken record, fueling his doubts. Let's head out, I've got things to sort out, he muttered, his steps heavy. Outside, the rain fell harder, the drops a relentless drumbeat on the roof, mirroring the growing rift between two hearts teetering on the edge of trust, and a betrayal neither fully understood.
Stories and the warmth of her tone of voice that she, too, had a happy marriage. Then it was my turn, and all I could do was cry as I told the story of my own husband's battle with cancer and chronic pain. As unquote, I'm used to asking people what they have learned from their experiences, so it was natural for me to ask her for advice on what happened her deal with the crushing grief. Obviously, she has been doing something right to be so full of vitality and joy after such a short time. She described it, her travels around the world with sparkling eyes and her plans for the next year with a joyful smile.